All right. I need to write a note to myself. Uh, Stay on course. Sorry for that last little rant. Where were we? Okay, I was developing the different distinct atoms in Genesis chapter 2. I find three more of them. I find three atoms, three distinct atoms in Genesis chapter 2. Combined with the Genesis chapter 1 atom, which had always been the atom in my brain whenever I thought of atom or heard any teaching on atom. This was the atom that was my default setting. But since this development of the four rivers of life and the four atoms that we see, I'm realizing now that there's a difference in the atoms, or there's a difference in the description of the atoms. There's a difference in Adam Genesis 1 versus the atoms in Genesis chapter 2. This is all productivity. This is all relationship. And you'll find that in the names that, and I didn't, even the names that I've given these three Genesis 2 atoms, it wasn't like a plan that I was going to go develop the idea of relationship. You know, this was occurring to me as I was speaking, that all three of these have a different primary focus than this guy. This is our default atom. This is our default us. I'll go into more detail on that, but this is the atom that really gets developed. This is the subtlety of Genesis chapter 2 creation narrative, is the being Elohim, the Yod He Vav He, the energy or essence, the wavelength that the ancients understood to be consistent with Yod He Vav He, Elohim, was the attributes of connection, of grace, of mercy, of forgiveness. And you realize that as you read the Genesis chapter 2 and even into Genesis chapter 3, you realize why the ancients understood that forgiveness was a part, that grace was a part of the Genesis 2 Adam. Okay, so we left off with barren Adam. He exists before the four rivers. He has no capacity to produce image and likeness. He has no capacity to reproduce himself. He doesn't even have his queen or his bride yet, which leads to, after we encounter the four rivers, which leads to lonely Adam. Lonely Adam is in a state of lo tov. He's in a state of needs improvement, which is a new evaluation from the perspective of Yod He Vav He Elohim as opposed to Elohim. This is the first time we encounter needs improvement. And it was his loneliness that could be improved upon. So God parades the animals in front of Adam and says, what are you going to name them, Adam? Anyone in here? Are you going to name anybody, any of the beasts of the field or the birds of the air? Are any of these going to be named, this is essence of my essence, this is flesh of my flesh, she shall be named woman, because she was taken from man. Adam could not find any partnering in the beasts or in the birds. And I think this is intentional. It's not like God didn't know that none of the beasts would be suitable for Adam. Of course he knew that. I think what he intended was for Adam to become lonely, to become desperate for a life partner, and to become desperate for his, where's my queen? Where is she? Where's my bride? I can see that for every bull, there's a cow, that for every buck, there's a doe, for every ram, there's a ewe. I can see the male and female partnerships in the animal kingdom, but I'm a king. I'm a king of this realm. Where's my queen? Where's my bride? Where is my partner? And so I think what's going on in Adam is the loneliness and desperation. I think we put desperation in there. And so what happens with lonely Adam is God says, okay, you really want your bride? How much? I mean, how badly do you want your bride? Anything. I don't care. I don't care what it costs. I want my bride. I need my bride. Okay? Here's what it's going to cost you. It's going to cost you a tardema. A what? Yeah, a tardema. Okay. A tardema is a very unique word in Hebrew, very unique. It's only used twice in all of Scripture. And what the sages recognized, what they understood when we encounter a word that's absolutely standalone, once again, it's that megaphone that, God is unzipping the heavens over our heads, sticking the megaphone through and saying, hey, this is really important. Pay attention to this. Tardema is only found twice in the entire Tanakh, in the entire Bible. The tardema is only found twice, which is like a highlight, okay? That's like God's taking a neon day-glow highlighter and tardema. What is a tardema? Well, we find the second tardema was given to Abraham. And when this happens in the Bible, a resonance is set up, a frequency is set up, a standing wave is set up. And when these two frequencies come together, it increases understanding of both. We're intended to understand the tardema of lonely Adam. We're to read that story of his, and what we read in our English Bibles is a deep sleep. Again, deep sleep only found twice in the whole Bible. So what we're to understand, and again, I can't iterate this enough, what we're doing in Hebrew Roots, this movement that's going on worldwide with no central direction, is we're attempting, we desire to recover the ancient mindset of the people who read scriptures. What would they have understood the importance of the deep sleep? What would have been in their minds? And so as we recover these things, we can begin to get deeper and deeper understanding. These two stories of Abraham and Adam are like binocular vision. I can see this pen. I can see this pen through the angle of my left eye. I can see this pen through the angle of my right eye. And as a result of the slightly different angles of each eye, I have two images of this pen, but when my brain puts them together, they come into focus in a dimensional way. One pen, two eyes. The two eyes create a depth and a richness of this pen that would not be available to me through either one of my single eyes. The same thing is going on with the tardema. This is God's use of binocular vision into the spirit of the scripture. Okay, stay focused. Lonely Adam's tardema brought forth his bride. A deep sleep brings forth a bride. Interesting. Do we find those same parallels in Abraham? We'll get to that. We'll get to that, but not right now. But what I want to suggest, right, for this time, is that lonely Adam and his previous iteration of barren Adam, these two Adams of barren and lonely, are radically different than bridegroom Adam. Adam has been radically changed. He is no longer the same being he was when God breathed life into him and he became a living being. He's no longer the desperate, lonely Adam that realizes that he's missing something, the barrenness. He has now become bridegroom Adam, and his bride has been brought to him through a tardema. This Adam is radically different than these two Adams. And this is why I believe that Genesis chapters 1 and Genesis chapters 2 show us 4 aspects of Adam. My brain is kind of spinning off on 4s right now. I'm thinking about how important 4 is in the scripture. My first thought went to Ezekiel chapter 1 and the cherubim, these mighty beings that had 4 faces. They each faced in the 4 directions of the compass. And when they moved, their faces didn't change. I think they moved like knights on a chessboard. You know, if they needed to get to, this area in terms of latitude, and they needed to get to this area in terms of longitude, I think probably how they moved would be like a knight on a chessboard. Zip, 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 zip. I think they moved in 90-degree angles, whatever. And each one of the faces of these mighty angelic beings had a parallel in the banners of the 12 tribes. The tribes were stationed around the tabernacle with a north, south, east, west, I'm not sure what east and west location. And each one of these 12 tribes, each one of these directions had a primary leadership banner that corresponded with the faces of the beings. Lots of 4s. There's a lot of 4s in Scripture. I'm thinking of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. Kind of an anti-type. There's the 4 chariot riders of Zechariah. There's the 4 rivers, there's 4 Adams, there's all kinds of stuff. And if you kind of take a look at this, there's a relationship between 4 and 7. Because if you look at the negative space between the 4 rivers, plus the 4 rivers, what you get is a 7. So anyhow, I think I'm winding this one up as well. I'm going to come back and I'm going to start talking about the 4 actual figures of history that would represent each one of these rivers of life. And there's amazing correspondence. This is the wonder of where my brain is right now, that there's correspondence between barren Adam and his correspondent historical figure. There's a correspondence between lonely Adam and his historical countertype. There's a correspondence between bridegroom Adam and his corresponding historical antitype. And this is a wonder to me. And I hope you guys are enjoying this series, and we'll come back for more in a bit. Hope to see you in part 8.